Welcome to our end of week news bulletin. I am Sergeant Doreen Kerubu. The Kdf Weekly Bulletin is a show to keep you updated on events undertaken by the Ministry of Defense over the week. In today's bulletin, change of command ceremony held at Ulinzi Sports Complex, Lang'ata, and Defense Headquarters here in Nairobi. President Ruto swears in General Ogolla as the Chief of Defense Forces and Lieutenant General Mwangi as the Vice Chief of Defense Forces. More groups evacuated from the war-torn Sudan. German Chancellor's visit. Ministry of Defense holds induction for the newly recruited civilian staff. Kenya Shipyard Limited hosts Kitale Primary School pupils for an educational tour. The Chief of Defense Forces change of command ceremony was held at Ulinzi Sports Complex, Lang'ata, with an extension at the Defense Headquarters here in Nairobi. In keeping with military traditions, the change of command ceremony sees the transition of command from an outgoing Chief of Defense Forces and the ushering in of a new commander. During the ceremony, outgoing Chief of Defense Forces, General Robert Kibochi, officially handed over command to the newly appointed Chief of Defense Forces, General Francis Ogolla. The second phase of the ceremony involved the pulling out of the exiting general officer from the Defense Headquarters to signifying his retirement from service. Take a look.
In his address at the Ulinzi Sports Complex, Defense Cabinet Secretary Honorable Aden Duale congratulated General Ogolla for his appointment as the new Chief of Defense Forces. He also appreciated General Kibochi for his service to the people of Kenya for the time he worked and led at the Kenya Defense Forces.
From the onset, outgoing CDF, I'd like to say thank you for the years of service to this great nation.
General Ogolla, the new Chief of Defense Forces, expressed gratitude for the opportunity to serve the country in Kenya Defense Forces' top leadership position. The CDF committed to leading the brave men and women in KDF to achieve the country's defense objective. He expressed confidence that with the dedication and commitment of the KDF soldiers, collective strategies will be developed to enable the military to overcome possible challenges. This, he noted, will ensure the safety, security, and stability of the country and the people of Kenya for sustainable economic development and prosperity.
It's a great honor and a high sense of trust to be accorded the opportunity to serve our country, Kenya, at the helm of one of Kenya's most important institutions, that is the Kenya Defense Forces. I wish to thank my predecessor, General Kibochi, for his mentorship, guidance, and cooperation, without which I would not have reached this position.
The outgoing Chief of Defense Forces, General Robert Kibochi, appreciated His Excellency Dr. William Ruto and his predecessor, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, for the tremendous trust and confidence in his leadership. He extended his appreciation to the incoming Chief of Defense Forces, General Francis Ogolla, and the three service commanders for working extremely hard as part of his strategic team to ensure the Kenya Defense Forces remained mission ready in responding to diverse operational and administrative engagements.
I would like to take this moment to express my profound gratitude to all those who made my military life remarkable. I'm grateful in particular to both my Commander-in-Chief, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Ruto, and his predecessor, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, who have shown tremendous trust and confidence in my leadership of the KDF, without which I could not have accomplished the aspirations that I set out to undertake in my strategic vision on assumption of CDS position 3 years ago.
Over the weekend, His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya and the Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces, presided over the swearing-in of General Francis Ogolla as the new Chief of Defence Forces. This was a memorable event held at State House, Nairobi, that also saw Lieutenant General John Mwangi sworn in as the Vice Chief of Defence Forces. Speaking during the swearing-in ceremony held at State House, Nairobi, the head of state congratulated the incoming generals for their merited and well-deserved promotion and appointment. He noted that after assessing the background and contribution to the military over the years, he was convinced that General Ogolla is merited for the Chief of Defence Forces position.
Let me take this opportunity again to congratulate our new CDF, General Ogolla. Congratulations on your appointment and ascension into the high office of CDF in the Republic of Kenya. In considering your appointment, I assessed your background, where you've come from, what you have done, your journey in the military, and I am satisfied that you merit the office. You have my confidence. You have the confidence of the government of Kenya to discharge your responsibilities in your new office.
The President further congratulated the outgoing Chief of the Defence Forces, General Robert Kibochi, for his outstanding service during his illustrious military career, spanning over 44 years. The swearing-in ceremony came just a day after the head of state appointed General Ogolla Chief of the Defence Forces and made other promotions and appointment in the Kenya Defence Forces. Elsewhere, the outgoing Chief of Defence Forces, General Robert Kibochi, made transition visit to the Kenya Defence Forces services, accompanied by the Chief of Defence Forces, General Francis Ogolla, and the Vice Chief of Defence Forces, Lieutenant General John Mwangi. It is a tradition for every outgoing Chief of Defence Forces to visit the three services of the Kenya Defence Forces. These are the Kenya Army, Kenya Air Force, and the Kenya Navy before officially handing over command. The transition visits were aimed at providing the opportunity for the outgoing Chief of Defence Forces to bid farewell to the troops and discuss the ongoing operations and strategic priorities. This is an important exercise in the process of ensuring leadership continuity and sustaining command and effectiveness of the Kenya Defence Forces.
Speaking during the visits, General Kibochi expressed his appreciation to the Kenyan Defence Forces troops for their service and dedication in ensuring the security of the country. He emphasized that it is important to take care of the welfare of military personnel, acknowledging the plan by the government to improve housing for the increasing number of service personnel. During his visit to Kenya Army, General Kibochi expressed gratitude to all Kenya Army personnel for their dedication and sacrifice in every task they undertake to ensure the country and region is secure. The outgoing CDF acknowledged the professionalism of the Kenya Air Force in air operations in Kenya and the region. He noted the recent engagement of the Air Force in evacuating Kenyans in war-torn Sudan. At the Kenya Navy, General Kibochi assessed the ongoing construction of warrant officers and senior non-commissioned officers' mess at Kenya Navy Base, Mtongwe, and the Fleet Mkunguni Jetty, where he visited the Kenya Navy ship Shupavu, which is in the advanced stages of her midlife refit undertaken by the Kenya Shipyards Limited.
Excellency Olaf Scholz, the Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, as part of his state visit to Kenya, made an official visit to the Humanitarian Peace Support School in Embakasi here in Nairobi. The Chancellor was received by Major General Bernard Waliaula, the Director, Defense National Security Industries, and hosted by Brigadier Joyce CTNA, the Director, International Peace Support Training Center. The Chancellor was briefed on the school's activities and interacted with course participants undergoing the explosive hazardous awareness training. He also made a site visit to the ongoing construction of the counter-improvised explosive devices complex at the school. The complex construction is in partnership with the German Agency for International Cooperation, an international enterprise owned by the German federal government.
As I welcome you to this institution, I wish to appreciate the efforts of the German government in facilitating and sponsoring the construction of the counter-IED complex.
Moving on, Following the recent promotions and appointments in the Kenya Defence Forces, Major General John Koimo has taken over the Joint Command and Staff College as the new commandant. He took over the mantle from Major General Eric Mbogwa Kinuthia in a ceremony that was held at the college headquarters in Karen, Nairobi. Elsewhere, at the Kenya Navy headquarters, Brigadier Yaya Abdi, the new deputy commander, took over from Brigadier Lawrence Gituma, who has served diligently for 38 years. The Kenya Defence Forces has continued to evacuate more groups from the war torn Sudan aboard the Kenya Air Force planes. The evacuees, who comprise of different nationalities, including Kenyans, Tanzanians and Burundians, were received by the Principal Secretary for the State Department of Diaspora Affairs, Ms. Roslyn Njogu. Take a look.
PS Njogu applauded the evacuees for their resilience and encouraged other Kenyans stranded in Sudan to continue registering with the State Department for Diaspora Affairs for logistic purposes. She further noted that the evacuation process will continue over the following days. So far, more than 369 Kenyans have been evacuated and airlifted to Nairobi by a team of military officials in collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
In other news, affirming the collective assignment of the civilian component in the Ministry of Defence as that of supporting the soldier, who is the North Star, Defence Principal Secretary Mr. Patrick Mariru implored the newly employed civilian staff and interns at the Ministry of Defence to serve with diligence, zeal and energy. The PS affirmed that it is a privilege to serve in the public service and called on the employees and the interns to commit to ensuring the Ministry of Defence achieves its mandate of defending and protecting the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Mariru made the remarks at the Defence Headquarters when he officially opened a 5-day induction workshop for the newly employed civilian staff and interns deployed at the Ministry of Defence establishment in Nairobi region. Take a look.
Principal Secretary for Defense, Mr. Patrick Mariru, reminded the new staff that they are all important regardless of how junior their cadre may seem. He noted that everyone has a role to play in the general success of the ministry. He challenged them to pursue their ambitions, including furthering their education, adding that nothing stops them from occupying senior positions in the future. His sentiments were echoed by the Ministry Director of Human Resource Management and Development, Dr. Lillian Zamvi, who urged the inductees to be of good discipline and take their work seriously in accordance with the uniqueness of the Ministry of Defence. During their induction, the new employees were apprised of the Public Service and Ministry of Defence Code of Conduct, the structure and functions of various services, units and formations, as well as grooming and etiquettes, among others.
The newly commissioned Kenya Navy officers were hosted for a luncheon by the Commander Kenya Navy Base Manda, Brigadier Peter Chelimo, on behalf of Commander Kenya Navy Major General Jimson Mutai. The event, which aimed at welcoming the new officers into the officers' mess, provided a platform for fostering comradeship among the junior and senior officers.
Speaking during the luncheon, Brigadier Chelimo urged the young officers to be committed to sustaining mess ethics as they acquaint themselves with the mess traditions. He emphasized that the naval dining is an important function steeped in the Kenya Defence Forces traditions, and added that the function celebrates the unique bond that has held the military units together since time immemorial. He urged them to ensure the survival of the long-standing tradition. In his welcoming remarks, the Chief of Operations Kenya Navy Headquarters, Colonel Michael Atondonyang, asked the newly commissioned officers to maintain the highest standards of ethics and the finest traditions of the Kenya Navy.
Lieutenant General Jonah Mwangi graced the official opening of the 27th Regional Senior Mission Leaders Course, a first of its kind as the Vice Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces at the International Peace Support Training Center in Karen, here in Nairobi. The course, co-sponsored by the International Peace Support Training Center and the United Kingdom through British Peace Support Team Africa, consists of 27 participants drawn from 17 partner states, targeting men and women in the top managerial levels that are serving or have the potential to serve in peace support operations.
The Vice Chief of Defence Forces, Lieutenant General Jonah Mwangi, observed that the present-day United Nations peace support venture faces a multiplicity of challenges due to the changing character of conflict and fractious geopolitics. He emphasized on the need for effective leadership underscored by a mix of physical and mental stamina and knowledge of the operating environment. He urged the participants to leverage the opportunity, break cultural barriers, and build lasting relationships that will enable them to coordinate better in future operations.
It is my belief that you will seamlessly share experiences and insights which, combined with those of the mentors, will help transform the peace support domain. Hence, I urge you to leverage this opportunity to break cultural barriers and build lasting relationships that will enable you to coordinate better in the future.
On his part, the International Peace Support Training Center Director of Studies, retired Major General Bernard Cummins, underscored the importance of the course in providing knowledge to deal with peace operation challenges. Additionally, Brigadier Ronnie Westerman, the United Kingdom Defense Attaché to Kenya, emphasized the relevance and quality of the course in peaceful operations and implored upon instructors to apply both theoretical and practical applications in the course delivery.
The Kenya Defence Forces under Operation Maliza Uhalifu in conjunction with Baringo County Government have embarked on a 20 kilometers road clearance and construction project at Kagir Yatia location in Baringo County. The project is among the many programs that the team from the Kenya Defence Forces 18 Construction Engineers Battalion operating under Operation Maliza Uhalifu North Rift in collaborating with the county governments have initiated in the 6 disturbed counties. This is all in quest of opening up the area which will serve as a backbone of fighting insecurity in the North Rift.
Speaking during the opening of the road project, Yatia Location Chief Mr. Jackson Kitany welcomed the gesture and appreciated the government agencies playing part in all ongoing projects in the troubled North Rift region. He gave assurance of residents' support and cooperation to enhance security in the region and restore normalcy.
Officers from Laikipia Air Base were treated to a first-of-a-kind cultural day held at the base. The cultural event, which aimed at showcasing and celebrating cultural diversity in order to enhance bonding, saw the officers showcase their richly diverse cultures through donning of traditional attires, food, songs and dance under the theme of Officers' Camaraderie Through Our Cultures and Pride. The event was graced by Base Commander Wajir Air Base Brigadier Stephen Sani, who acknowledged culture as one of the critical things that emphasis should be put on as it gives value to everything we do. Base Commander Laikipia Air Base Brigadier Mahmoud Farah, who also was present, reiterated the importance of understanding diverse and multifaceted cultures. In other news, Kenya Shipyard Limited Mombasa Yard hosted staff and students of Kitale Primary School on an educational tour. The primary school pupils had the privilege to tour the facility under the guidance of the yard manager, Captain Alio Boru. They were taken through the Kenya Shipyard Limited establishment's mandate and its contribution to the growth of the shipbuilding industry in Eastern Africa through the provision of world-class construction, refit, repair and maintenance of ship and other maritime vessels. The pupils and staff appreciated the milestone by the Kenya Shipyard Limited, including the ongoing midlife refit of the Kenya Navy ship Shupavu, repair of Kenya Revenue Authority and the Kenya Coast Guard Services boats, among others. On to matters environmental conservation, the Kenya Defence Forces personnel from the Kenya Navy Base Mtongwe and Mariakani Garrison, in partnership with the Kenya Forest Service and the Dedan Kimathi Foundation, participated in a tree planting exercise at Mariakani Garrison in Kilifi County. The exercise saw over 40,000 trees planted in line with the Environmental Soldier Program, a Kenya Defence Forces initiative that puts the soldier at the forefront of tree planting, as well as the President's mission of planting 15 billion new trees by the year 2032 to combat the effects of climate change. In a different exercise at the National Secure Telecommunications Service Cantonment in Embakasi Garrison, the National Secure Telecommunications Service multi-agency personnel planted over 600 fruit trees. Take a look.
The fruit trees planting exercise in Embakasi was spearheaded by Commander 8th Mechanized Infantry Brigade, Brigadier David Chesire, accompanied by Lieutenant Colonel Edward Gedhui of National Security Telecommunications Service. Brigadier Chesire urged the service personnel to replicate the efforts outside military cantonments to help in fast-tracking the government's tree cover objective. The fruit trees planted comprise oranges, tangerines, apples, mangoes, gold hash avocados, lemons, and pomegranates. Additionally, Over 3,000 trees were also planted at Embakasi Garrison by other Kenya Defence Forces personnel through the Environmental Soldier Program in partnership with Grow Initiative and other community-based organizations in the area.
Thank you for watching. We look forward to your feedback via our official social media handles and your viewership next Friday for the KDF Weekly Bulletin. My name is Sergeant Doreen Kerubo. Goodbye.